News about SOS as everything continues to develop, doesn't it?
Oh, constantly, Neil. And once again, thanks for having me on. It's one of those things where as things continue to go and the pride that we put into this product, it seems like more and more opportunities are coming up, which is just absolutely wonderful. So one of the things that we're really looking at doing here in the new year is a book series where we sit down with authors and we put together anywhere from a 1 to 5 part episodes of deep dives into their books, mainly focused, like I said, on the transition space, like we normally do. But there's several books in our area, so sitting down with these authors and letting them tell us why they wrote what they wrote, and really, pointing out the key points for us, and creating that library of just another great resource for our audience.
Absolutely. It's something that it's really a great idea because some veterans write books basically after they want to tell their story and their success, and part of that's transition, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And some, really go all out and try to create this great transition book to help people, and it's fantastic. And there's certain books that people recommend when you start your transition, and so we're hoping to sit down with these authors and really let them tell the story behind the book and point out those key things that people need to look at. And it should be a fantastic series, and we'll be bringing on a another person to help us with this series, so it'll be great to add to the team and have another outstanding co-host, if you will, working through this project as we continue to grow and expand.
So let's talk about, specifically enough when you talk about the whole aspect of the people that have written transition books. Are there a ton when you did your research?
I wouldn't say there's a ton. There have been let's call it a spattering of books. But there are some that get a little bit more publicity than others, and then there's some that people are really out there hustling. There's a great how-to book essentially for the VA process that was written by the former undersecretary of the VA, Paul Lawrence, and it's just an outstanding book, and something that everybody, when they transition out, should be reading it and understanding how the VA benefit process works and all that. But then there's others that are now more specific on transition, and so we're excited to really get into these and help people find these great resources.
Okay, so I'm interested to know, how did you find this? I mean, look at the amazing guests you've been able to find in 2024. How are you finding the transition? Because if there's not that many authors who've written them, you really are out there hustling, reaching out to people to get these authors.
Yeah, so some of it is exactly that. And in this space, a lot of it is word of mouth. That there isn't a whole lot of, let's say, push from the government to tell us about the different resources that are available. So that's why we started the podcast. That's why we're bringing this information forward. So a lot of it is hustling and digging and researching. But now we're also to the point now where we have authors reaching out to us saying, "Hey, I wrote this book." So it's really awesome to be in this position now to where we can start bringing a new series forward that will just provide an outstanding resource and continue to help one grow the podcast and what we try to do, but also really help our audience and help those people transitioning out of the military.
And that's huge. That's a
Oh,
big part of the process for sure. Let's talk about other your continue. The podcast continues to roll in all the different episodes, and you're very happy with the other two podcasts you've released. That now in 2025 you'll focus on being brands of their own under the Veto SOS brand, right?
absolutely. Yeah. So we have the entrepreneurial spotlight where we bring on veterans and veteran spouses to talk about their entrepreneurial journey, as well as some resources that are available in the entrepreneurial space. And it's all just to create this library of resources that people can pull from and hopefully avoid some of those pitfalls that many people go through. And then we have the educational resource where we're talking to programs that help people pursue an education, but also talking to the directors that run programs on campuses. This way, as you're sitting down trying to figure out, hey, do I go to this school or that school? Hopefully, you can look at this resource and say, hey, I like what they're doing at that school. And I think that's the final thing. I'm going to go there instead. And we're also hoping that it becomes a resource for the different directors to improve their programs. Learn those best practices from other schools and just continue to make the whole process better for everybody. And as we move into 2025, we're looking at potentially two additional shows So, we have a lot of growth and things going on that are really exciting. And I'm just so happy and blessed to have so many people want to be a part of this and continue to help us, help the next generation.
And what's the news on the foundation in general? Looking at specifically enough your board of directors, all that stuff. That stuff is going to be decided in the Q1 of the, I guess, of next year. Is that where you're looking at?
That is absolutely the goal, is to be complete and operational by Q1 as a official 501(c)(3). I mean, granted, it may take a little longer than 3 months to get the official paperwork and blessing back, but we want to have the board of directors in place. We want to have the advisory board in place. We want to have key roles in place. And so we're working through that. And we're talking to people and we're recruiting. And, if anybody in the audience is interested in being a part of this as we grow it, please reach out. We'd love to have a conversation and see if it's a good fit and see if you'll fit this team to help us grow and really make an impact in this community.
All right. Sounds fantastic. And I guess the hope is it takes a village of people to really help you build this, right? You can't do this alone.
Oh, absolutely. And none of this would have ever happened had I not had my own group of mentors that pushed me and wanted, to see me expand what I was trying to do and even lead me in directions I didn't know I wanted to go. So, podcasting wasn't one of those things that I was like, when I leave the military, this is what I'm going to do. It was a mentor who pushed me into it, and it's been a huge blessing. So, hopefully we can have that same impact on future generations transitioning and continue to help them have smooth transitions and find those resources that help them.
It's the power of the podcast at the end of the
Right.
day. The relationships you build after the podcast is over, having a relationship to reach out to again
Yeah.
and get them all together on point. And that's the exciting part of this community and the friendships that you build and grow. And how Vet SOS, the brand and social media is growing too, right? You keep growing every day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This dinosaur is trying to break into that social media world and really try to figure it out and create that following and audience there as well. And that's been real interesting for me because I really stayed away from social media most of my career. So trying to figure it out and get tips and tricks from other people and just continue to build the audience any way we can.
All right. Okay. So that let's go into specifically enough thinking about things, Sean, and where you're going with that OSOS. I think the ultimate goal is, do you have that set and measured? Because with the podcast, there's the podcast section, there's the transition section. What is your ultimate goal? What do you think?
The ultimate goal is just to be a resource for people, whether it's veterans who are already out, transitioning service members, or spouses, be that resource that they can find resources that are right for them. There are so many different resources, and that's why we like the personal touch. We try to bring the story behind the story, not just, hey, this is the organization. We want you to know the people in the organization, how the organization works, and see if that just feels right for you. And if it does, use that resource to help you have a smooth transition. And ultimately, it comes down to we just want to help people have the best transition possible, and we're trying to educate and share that information with them.
All right, the best place to go is where?
VetSOSpodcast.com. You can get to all our shows through there. You can get to all our social media through there and YouTube, podcast platforms. Everything's available right there. And of course, you can reach out to us through there as well.
All right. That was